So I think a good example that I often like to tell because it was an aha for me in the moment was take your phenomenal, amazing, and wonderful and brilliant colleague, Shona Quinn, who was head of environmental sustainability and I think still is. And, for in any company, like you were saying, Amy, because I've worked in a lot of businesses by now, the analog to you guys of social consciousness, or someplace else it might be called social responsibility, or someplace else it might be called the environmental team. If you're at Nike or Ford or Harley or you name it, they're going to be pretty isolated, right? And it's hard to have leverage. It's hard to have an impact if you're over here working and saying, hey guys, change the light bulbs. Or even if you have a bigger idea, like, hey guys, I'll tell you in a minute what the idea is. I don't want to say it yet. So Shona had, tons of ideas about how to do this, but really it's important for the people who are on the leading edge or out there in the work in manufacturing and design to get it themselves, own it themselves, understand it themselves, draw it themselves together, become passionately connected. So Shona may have a vision around decreasing carbon footprint, and somebody might think, oh, okay, yeah, we need to change the light bulbs in facilities. And that's a good thing to do. But when you do the whole systems analysis for apparel in the company business you guys are working in, where a lot of stuff is manufactured overseas, what's the biggest impact? It turns out when you do that assessment of carbon footprint, where do you get the biggest carbon footprint? If I was in a room with you all listening, I'd say, anybody have a guess? And you can put some guesses in the chat if you want, or if you're in apparel, you might know. I didn't know till I was in that room those 3 days. Well, it turns out, drum roll, the biggest impact is sending product by air instead of sending product by sea, right? Air shipments instead of sea shipments. Of course, you're using way more carbon. Why do you have to send stuff by air instead of sea if you're committed to lowering your carbon footprint? Well, of course, I guess we needed to do it right now because we want to get to the customer. So all of a sudden, instead of this being shown as problem, once people identified that high leverage point of moving from air shipments to sea shipments, now Liz, who's in charge of manufacturing, and Regina, who's in charge of business
Planning.
merchandising, and Jackie on design, they're part of that whole system because they have to figure out, okay, how do we do this differently? How do we commit to product differently or sooner? How do we talk to our big accounts like Nordstrom's differently? How do we get them bought in? And now all of a sudden, these leaders in the company at the highest level are bought in. And now Shona and Amy have a whole ton of leverage that they didn't have before.